Welcome to this week's OK at Work with myself, Sarah Sawyer, and my colleague, Russell Berger from the Offit Kurman Labor and Employment Group. And this week we are talking about a hot topic, which has been a hot topic, I think, for a while, even pre-pandemic, but, talking about job hopping and career hopping, as they put it. Definitely something that we've seen more of in more recent history, and then obviously even more now with the job market the way that it is, with less and less employees staying with companies for long stretches of time, 10 years, their whole career, things like that, to more, moving between jobs and making more career changes. So definitely something that we spend a lot of time talking with our clients about as far as how to retain employees, but then just also how to kind of deal with that culture. And I, recently read an article about this that I thought was pretty interesting, examining kind of the 2-week notice period and then what employers can do with job hoppers and career hoppers. I think it made some interesting points about being thoughtful in your approach with employees starting from the time you hire them versus trying to address the issue once kind of the ship's already left the harbor there and it's already, everything's off and running, and maybe an employee is disgruntled and not giving you their max output and you don't know it, and they're looking for jobs, and kind of some different ways to handle that. What are your thoughts on the two period and some different ways to do that, Russell?
Yeah, no, I thought that article was interesting because you're right. We've been talking for a while about the Great Resignation and recruitment and retention, and we've said employee engagement is one way to address, to increase retention. Um, but we haven't gotten into a whole lot of details about what that actually looks like. And I thought kind of, something you had shared was pretty insightful on that, because basically what it was saying is, by the time you get to the 2-week notice, I mean, someone's going to hang around for another 2 weeks after they give notice. Best case, they're like 50%, engaged. They're just wrapping up loose ends. They're collecting the paycheck for those last 2 weeks, and maybe you need them to tie some things up before they go, but not a super productive 2 weeks. But I thought one of the key takeaways was, well, if that's the case in the last 2 weeks, like it's probably been headed towards that for a long time. And so it's not just those 2 weeks where, okay, fine, I can deal with that. Not much is happening, but whatever. I need to pay for the transition. Um, it's the month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months leading up to that where the person's job searching, where the person's becoming disinterested, becoming less engaged. And I thought the big takeaway from the article was, get in front of that. When we talk about having open door culture, but you actually have to live that, and you have to seek that out. And not everyone's going to come forward just because the door is open. So it's more, I would say it's more of a check-in culture than an open door culture. What's going on? What can we do better? How do you like things? And you keep it to kind of that, so it's not a super meta heavy duty conversation every time you have to have it, but it's just constant check-ins where you build trust and you can exchange information going both directions. So it'll make you a more effective manager as well. But you get those little bits of feedback so that you can address them. And just by virtue of the fact that you address them with an employee, the employee will be more engaged and more likely to not only stay, but to be connected while they do stay.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. You talk about the open door policy or certain policies that employers often have in place, saying, please come to us, please report this, open door policy, all those things. And I will say, by and large, a lot of my clients that I see that in their policies, and then I do work with them and I get to know them as a business, I don't know that they're always actually implementing those things or know exactly how or have given a lot of thought to that. I think there's sometimes an assumption, well, I have it in the policy. I've told you to come to me. Why aren't you coming to me? And so I think this is really a situation where if you're going to implement something where you really want that to actually be the reality, it really is going to take work as a manager, as a leader, as an owner, to really committing yourself to that process and really thinking about it. Because I think people can tell, we're perceptive as human beings, most of us. So I think people can tell when companies really mean it. And a lot of it is, I think, erasing that fear of coming to management. So a lot of times someone might be unhappy in their role, or maybe they would like a different role within the organization. I think that was a great one as well, is they might might want to stay, but be in a different capacity or do something different, and to feel comfortable to come to management or to the company in some way and say, I'm really, I think I want to do something else, without fear of retribution, or fear around, well, now they're just going to be pushing me out now that I was honest about this. So it really takes a lot more than just a written policy for people to feel and live that. But that's a really good way that I think people can maintain their employees and good talent without losing them to other companies, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and just the more we talk about it, the more apparent I think it becomes that this is on the management side to be proactive. Because you're right, these are scary conversations for employees to have a lot of the time, and it's easier to just leave than to have those conversations. And obviously, that's not what we want. We want to avoid that. So I think it's really a management imperative to not only seek out these conversations in the right way, of course, but to work to make sure that employees feel engaged and feel comfortable and feel it's okay to be honest and to share, hey, I'd like to get to this point in my career here, and to work on a plan of how you can get there. And I think the real takeaway for me is if you wait until the employee's got one foot out the door, that's a pretty hard challenge to bring that person back in and not only get them back in the company, but to get them back engaged. Not that it can't be done, but that's an uphill battle. And like a lot of things, it probably is a lot easier if you make that part of kind of your management routine up front to prevent that and keep the employees on that right and proper engaged track.
Yeah, and there's always a cost to people leaving. So it's a mental cost. It's probably a lot of people's least favorite part of their job as a manager or as an owner. So, if you're able to retain people and have less of that, then that's the best case scenario for sure. So, well, thanks, Russell, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sarah.